everyone, welcome back. All news and transfer news coming out of Manchester United as of today, and there is absolutely tons and tons. So let's jump straight into it. We'll look at the top stories, and we're going to look at Cunha being kind of talked about heavily yesterday, being linked to Manchester United. Laurie Whitwell was talking about it. We'll have a look at what Laurie was saying. We'll have a look at the unbelievable speculation that is, circling around Andre Onana, which I think is probably about right, considering how poor he was the other night. Absolutely dreadful. Howler after howler, as I said before, caused us Champions League last year, is potentially costing us the Europa League this year, which would lead to losing out on the Champions League next year, which is absolutely brutal. So for us moving forward, Manchester United are looking at Zion Suzuki from Parma. There are other goalkeepers that are also in the mix. James Trafford being one, Chabalele from Lille as well. So we are looking at goalkeepers. Can we get it done? Is there anything that we can do to move Onana sort of out of the club in the summer, despite the fact that he's on decent wages, but he's not on astronomical wages. But again, we need to be careful about the PSR. He did cost a lot of money, and we can't afford to take a hit on that. So we're going to look into that. We've also been linked to a Brighton goalkeeper, which we'll look at. Sporting's Iheanacho. Apologies. Oh God, that name. Anyway, he is being linked with Manchester United, and we'll have a little bit of a look at the what Ruben Amorim has set up at the Newcastle game, and we'll get your thoughts in as well. Okay, so look, we'll start with the Matthias Cunha one, and I'd love to know what you good people out there think about Cunha. Do you want him? Do you think he's the right person to come in, and is he what we need right now? Because this is what's being said. Matthias Cunha has a 62.5 million release clause. Do you think we can afford that? United regard him as a player at his peak, and he could make an instant impact, adding more experience to the younger profile players and recruitment that they're sort of prioritizing. His current wages are worth to be around 150,000 a week. Do we think we can get him? Can we pay the buyout clause? Can we also afford the wages? Because he will want more. If he's on 150k a week, he'll want more than that. What's our limit? What can we actually offer him? Can we buy him? Now, I've got a funny feeling. He has said that he is very interested in coming to Manchester United, and I believe that we are talking to his agent from news that is also being reported yesterday. I would love him to come. I think he could be in the kind of mold of whenever Bruno Fernandes came into the team 5 years ago. He could come in, hit the ground running, be up to speed, playing in that 10 role, and absolutely give us unbelievable drive, determination, flair, goals, assists, all the stuff we need, and a little bit on the edge. I've mentioned it before, I'll just mention it again quickly. Kind of reminds me, you've got that edge of like the Wayne Rooneys and the Eric Cantonas, and just players who have that little bit of spark inside them. Yes, they are prone to stepping over the edge and getting in trouble, but we need a little bit of that from time to time, and we don't really have enough of that at the minute. So I think if we could get him across the line, he would be a brilliant signing, and he'd be a great way to start the summer. And this would allow me to have a little bit of confidence in what the Glazers and Ineos are actually trying to do. Not much, because there'd be a long way to go. He couldn't be just the only one. If it's him and Delap, it's decent, but we're going to have a lot of players going, so they have got to try and sort this out very, very quickly. Okay, we'll move on to the next little bit. But before I do, thanks very much for everyone who has subscribed. Absolutely amazing. Thank you for all the viewing figures. Unbelievable. Really, really appreciate all the thoughts that you guys are bringing to the channel. If you could carry on hitting the old subscribe button to get into the comments, that'd be amazing. Please hit the like/thumbs up button. That would really help me grow. And yeah, we'll move on to the next story, which is Andre Onana. Andre Onana is set to be dropped by Manchester United for the game against Newcastle on Sunday. Altay Binder will start. Onana is expected to start against Lyon on Thursday. Where do we all sit with this? I, for one, will be happy to see Onana get dropped. I don't think Binder is the answer, by the way. As good as he is, and as well as he's played in some of the games, he's also had some shaky games. He's probably a better goalkeeper than Onana, but I don't think he's the long-term option of what we need as a goalkeeper. I remember way back in the day, not many people will remember this, but Jim Leighton, 1990 FA Cup. Jim Leighton was, dropped by Sir Alex Ferguson, and Les Sealy came in, brilliant goalkeeper, at the time wasn't recognized. Les went on and did very well for Manchester United, but he wasn't the answer either. And until we find Peter Schmeichel, and I think Manchester United are at that stage now where big calls need to be made. Sir Alex dropped Jim Leighton in the FA Cup final in 1990, and it helped us win it. And I've got a feeling, and I wish this was the case. I wish that Onana would be dropped. Binder was the Europa League goalkeeper. I wish he was reinstated as the Europa League goalkeeper going forward, just to help us in the next tie. But it looks like that won't be the case, and I'm really disappointed with that because he is, Jim Leighton, Andrew Onana has just not proved that he's capable of doing the job that we need, especially in the big moments, in the big games. And I prefer Binder to play and get his place back. But that's obviously not going to happen, so we've got to move forward with what we have and pray to God that he is mistake-free. But I just don't see it. Very, very frustrating. Manchester United are also interested. We were interested in Zion Suzuki once again. No club has watched Suzuki more in recent months than Manchester United, with the Red Devils holding a long-term interest in the 22-year-old. This is coming from Graham Bailey. Now, we tried to buy him a couple of years ago when he was playing in the Belgium league. I believe he came from Japan originally, and we could have bought him for 5 million, but we couldn't afford it. Unbelievable. We weren't prepared to pay the 5 million fee, and now he's going to cost us, from what I'm hearing, what I'm reading, around 40 million pound. Would you? I mean, have you guys seen Suzuki out there play? I've not seen that much of him, just clips here and there. And what I've seen, he looks like he's got a lot of confidence, dominates the box, very good with his feet, and is also a good chop stopper. Kind of a modern day goalkeeper, which what we thought Onana was going to be, but actually wasn't. He was absolutely bloody dreadful. But anyway, so he's one option that we're looking at. Another option that Manchester United have also got an eye on is Bart van Bruggen from Brighton's goalkeeper. We're also got an eye on him, who looks like a very good goalkeeper as well. The only issue I have with these goalkeepers is I know with a bit of luck they'll be okay, but if they come and they have the pressure of Manchester United's jersey on them, can they deal with the expectation? And they'll know of all the criticism that's come before them with the way Onana's displayed, or the way Onana's played this season and last season. So they know, even though Onana has a big sort of personality and he doesn't seem to be fazed by stuff on the exterior anyway, maybe internally it's slightly different, but yeah, they will know the pressures that come from just looking from the outside, which I can imagine is one thing. I can only imagine how much more difficult it is being on the inside. But we are looking at Van Bruggen, so it'll be interesting to see whether we can whether we make any moves in that. But yeah, goalkeepers seem to be the sort of the very high on the spectrum now at the minute for us to be viewing. We are very interested in moving Onana on. The United stand were talking about this. They did mention that the news that they got was that as much as they like Onana, as much as Ruben Amorim respects him as a person, he just doesn't think he's the goalkeeper for him going forward. So I hope in the summer that we do get the opportunity to move him on. Okay, flying on to the next story. Just rattling on with this, guys. So Iheanacho from Sporting. Apparently we have resurrected our interest in him again, according to sort of caught offside here. And Manchester United are expected to hold talks soon over the potential transfer swoop of Gonzalo Iheanacho. Now, I've seen some of him play. He's a very good centre back. My only concern with this one is he capable of dealing with the physicality of the Premier League? Because it's quicker than the league he plays in currently. He has done well when he's played in the European games from what I've seen. He is a very good centre back. He is quite young, can't play on the left side, so he gives us cover there, because I don't believe Luke Shaw is the right person. We know that Martinez is very injury prone, or has become so. Aiden Heaven is still very young, and Iheanacho would have a bit more. Inacio would have a bit. Inacio, what am I talking about? Inacio would be a potential sort of step and upgrade from maybe Heaven at this stage, just because he's got a bit more experience. What do we think? Do we think he'll be a good signing for Manchester United? Would you like to see him come in, or would you have your eyes on someone else? Please get your comments in below. I'd love to hear from you guys. Okay, so this is what Ruben Amorim had to say about the Newcastle game. He said, So we are going to face this one, Newcastle. We have 3 days and we are going to prepare for the game without a lot of running or training. It's just recover, and then we will be fine on Thursday for our fans. But we need to face Newcastle in a way that we can win the game. Are we gonna pull a full team out? Are we gonna go for it, or is he? I hope he rotates. I hope he goes. The league position is not important at this stage. I know it isn't the Glazers. They only want money, and they want that extra 3 million every other place you move up the league. To hell with that. All eggs in the Europa League basket. Let's just put a subpar team out. Let's give some of the youngsters a go. Jack Moorhouse potentially. Bentito Montalo could potentially make a debut. It's away to Newcastle, and we probably can't afford to get battered. Because just the press and the PR around the club would be absolutely disastrous. But hopefully he can supplement some of the players that the likes of Luke Shaw can come into the team. Maybe Victor Lindelof can play. Maybe he will give the opportunity to a couple of other youngsters as well. Maybe Obi Martin will be on the bench and get some minutes up front. But yeah, I just hope that he goes all out for the Europa League. And it'll be very interesting to see how he categorises the games over the next few days on the tomorrow and on Sunday, which is more important to him. Has to be the Europa League for me. All in the Europa League. Forget about the league. Does not matter. If Newcastle beat us 3-0, I'll be annoyed, but I'll also know that the bigger picture is the Europa League on the Thursday. So let's see what happens in that. And then the final little bit of news, and this is just more garbage from the old Ineos crew. We are it's understood that Ineos are to make an extra 150 redundancies in the coming months. I believe that's potentially going to happen on April the 28th of this month, from what we were reading yesterday. So they're still at it. They want to, just sack more good people from the club, get more good people out of the club. As I say, I don't really have any more details on it, but we find out a little bit when we bring them to you. I just don't really understand how they need to sack another 150 people, considering the 200 they've already sacked and the 200 prior to that. They're absolutely stripping the workforce back to zero. I can't imagine how hard these people are working behind the scene, because I know what it's like when you're working in a kind of position where you are surrounded by people, and then all of a sudden you're taking on the roles of maybe 4, 5, 6 people. It's mad, but it's the way of the world, and I don't agree with it. And I hope that that these guys find a way to survive after Sir Jim Ratcliffe slams the hammer on them. Okay, guys, that's all your news for today. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm Keith, the host of this little channel. If you're enjoying the content, hit the old subscribe button, get your comments in below, hit the old thumbs and likes up if you could. That'd be absolutely amazing. 500 of you guys are sticking around for my content coming back and back and back, and there's 169 subscribers. If the 300-ish plus more could tap the old subscribe button, it would absolutely massively help me. But I appreciate everyone who's coming back to the channel and just viewing whatever it is I'm saying, because there's so many brilliant content makers out there, and I'm only in the start of my journey, and I have a lot to learn and a long way to go. So anyone who's stuck around this far, I really appreciate it. I'm trying to get better at this. Thank you so much for hanging in with me. And yes, I shall see you tomorrow. Newcastle. Let's see what happens.